Jumping right in, our coverage begins in Walterboro, South Carolina, where jury selection continues in the Alex Murdaugh murder case. The disgraced attorney is accused of killing his wife and son back on June 7th, 2021. The state theorizes that the defendant was attempting to draw sympathy in the midst of his alleged financial crimes. The murders were just one event in a string of tragedies and crimes connected to the once prominent South Carolina family, which included 2 additional deaths and an alleged hired hitman. With such a convoluted case, there is so much to discuss, and to start the conversation is Law&Crime's GiGi McKelvey, who is down at jury selection now and was in that courtroom this morning. Thanks for joining us, GiGi. What can you tell us about jury selection?
Well, day 2 of jury selection is well underway, with the last group of jurors just now finishing up inside. Out of 900 potential jurors, way less than that were actually brought in. And Alex was very involved in jury selection, turning and looking at every single potential juror, making notes, conferring with his lawyers consistently throughout the morning. And what we found is so many people have ties to Alex Murdaugh in some way, or witnesses that will be testifying in this case. When asked if you had heard about the case and knew about the situation, all but 12 stood up. And when asked if they could be impartial, 12 people said they could not be impartial and were dismissed.
Okay, GiGi, how relevant will the other Murdaugh scandals be in this double murder trial?
We're not sure how much of the financial crimes are going to come into this. We just really haven't heard so far. But I think that everybody who's sitting on this jury, it's got to be in the back of their minds. It's been all over the news. But there's been a fight of how much of that can come in. And there are some outstanding motions today that still need to be heard, one involving the blood spatter expert witness, as well as some ballistic evidence that the defense wants kept out.
All right, GiGi, is there a jury that is being close to solidified from what you saw in court today? I would imagine that jury selection in this case, with all the publicity, is going to be a very tough and long and drawn-out process. What do you think?
I don't think so. This is the last group brought in, and they were instructed that they are to return tomorrow at 11 a.m. with the other jurors who have passed the first few rounds. It seems like we could have a jury sometime tomorrow.
That's incredible. That's incredible. And I think that this jury selection would have been something that the prosecution and the defense would have had a tough time, but it sounds like they are well underway. And when do you think we are going to get to opening statements in this case?
We've heard as early as tomorrow afternoon, possibly Thursday, but things are rolling along very quickly in this courtroom. They went late last night. Alex did not leave the courthouse till shortly before 7, but they've made a lot of progress in the day and a half that we've had jury selection going on.
Okay, GiGi, let's talk about Alex Murdaugh and how he is in that courtroom. How would you describe his demeanor through jury selection?
His demeanor has been just very involved and interested. He turned and looked at every single person that stood up, took his own notes. He seems to be in a pleasant mood. In fact, this morning he smiled and nodded at me as he got out of the car. He's very involved and probably just in lawyer mode during this process. As we know, he has been a lawyer for decades here in this very courthouse now where he's a defendant.
GiGi McKelvey, thank you for joining us and giving us that boots on the ground report outside that courtroom. I think we're going to have a piece that we're going to be looking at now. Let's take a look.
Not only, I think, are people throughout the state focused on this case, I think people throughout the country and the world are. Now, obviously, we've had the Brian Walsh matter up in Massachusetts, and we have the Idaho college murders. So Alex has gotten pushed down a little bit. But don't kid yourself. It's not often that you have a case where the father kills a child or a parent kills a child. You always have spousal murders. They take place. It's domestic violence. It's a shame. It happens. So to the state, this case means a lot. I think it's going to be one of the trials, most famous trials we've ever had, whether it's Susan Smith or Pee Wee Gaskins. But I think we want to come out looking good. The state has not looked good for the last year and a half based on Alex Murdaugh and what has come out about how He stole from clients almost $10 million. He stole $4.3 million from my clients, the Satterfields, and we've recovered over $7.5 million. So it's kind of like Shawshank Redemption, where you got to crawl through 500 yards of sewage and you come out clean on the other side. We're hoping that this will be a cleansing process, that this trial will cleanse whatever has happened. Look, Judge Newman looks great. Our Supreme Court Justice, Justice Beatty, looks great. Judge Lee, who set his bond at $7 million, looks good. So he's been a blight on our state. He's stained our legal profession. But I'm hopeful that at the end, what justice decides, whether he's guilty or not guilty, makes our state look good.
Okay, GiGi, what did we hear and what more can we expect, building on what we just heard?
Well, I think that the Gloria Satterfield case is just one of many that is waiting in the wings to have their case heard. He's done a lot of people wrong, a lot of very vulnerable people, people who were good to him. So I think that this is just the beginning. We haven't seen anything yet.
Just fascinating stuff, and I think that we are going to be looking as jury selection continues in this case, and I believe it sounds to me that they're well underway, and I would have expected, GiGi, that this would be a process that would have taken a lot of time because of the immense publicity surrounding Alex Murdaugh and all his legal woes. And of course, the fact that this is a small community where this particular family has had a lot of impact on that community, both in the legal world and also just by nature of their long standing in that community. But it sounds like jury selection is getting underway. Now, I have to ask you, do you expect that there may be any issues with the jurors we have seen selected so far? Meaning, because of the publicity, do you get a sense that this is going to be a jury that's going to be fair and impartial, or do you think that because of that publicity, we may expect an issue down the line which could be ripe for an appeal for the defense if the prosecution gets a conviction?
Well, look, it's easy to see sitting in this morning, the Murdaugh ties run deep in this area. So many people knew him, distantly related to him, put the HVAC into the law firm. So it's going to be a challenge to find jurors who really don't know him and can be impartial, but I think they'll get the job done. They'll get a jury in place that will listen to the evidence and ultimately decide his fate. There'll be 12 jurors selected with 6 alternates, by the way.
Okay, GiGi, thank you for that great reporting outside the courthouse in South Carolina. We're going to be checking back with you throughout the course of this trial. Thank you for that great reporting.